Good morning. My name is George Lemieux on behalf of the Gunster Law Firm. Welcome here this morning. I think you're going to find this presentation very educational. As a point of preface, let me back up with you a couple years and set the stage for how we got to where we are. In the closing months of 2010, there was an agreement reached, an accord reached between the President of the United States and principally with Mitch McConnell, the minority leader of the U.S. Senate. What was going to happen at the end of 2010 is the 01-03 tax cuts, the so-called Bush tax cuts, as well as the estate tax, were going to go up because of the fact that these were set in time to expire at the end of 2010. An agreement was reached to put those things 2 years down the road and allow them to continue. First person I want to introduce to you is immediately to my left. That's Adi Rappaport. He's one of our partners at the Gunster Law Firm. He's board certified in tax law and has an LLM or advanced degree along with his JD in tax. He's going to talk to you about an overview of tax planning based upon all of these changes, and he will address the key dates that are coming into effect, some of the things that I lightly touched upon. To Adi's left is Arshi Siddiqui. She is a partner at Aiken Gump in Washington, D.C. She's a former policy advisor and counsel to former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and she will offer her perspective as an insider who saw this sausage being made in Washington. David Bates. Good morning, David. Also my partner at the Gunster Law Firm. He is the head, he's in the corporate and transactional practice, and he's the leader of our technology and entrepreneurial companies practice. He's widely regarded as a leader in the field of mergers and acquisitions. He will be discussing what business owners should consider now to ensure that they are well positioned to sell a business if that's in the best interest of the business owner. John Capel is the managing director at Comvest, which is a private equity firm. He's to the left of David. They have invested more than $1.3 billion of capital in over 95 public and private companies. He will discuss how the current climate and the fast approaching deadlines could impact the investment market. Finally, all the way to the left, is Lisa Schneider. She's the co-chair of our private wealth services practice at Gunster. She counsels individuals in all manners of estate planning. Her presentation will focus on the key issues that each of us should be considering as we make these planning decisions now to maximize the advantages under the expiring provisions, which may not be continued, either in what's called the lame duck Congress, which is the time period after the November 6th election until the new Congress is sworn in, which is in the beginning of January, or in the new Congress, which will start in January of 2013. So what
I'd like to do is, from an historical perspective, go over how we got here, and then I will lead to a slide that essentially summarizes where the tax law is going to be when the clock strikes midnight at the end of this year. I'm not here to crystal ball gaze. That's Arshi's job. What I'm here to tell you is just give you the cold hard facts of what's happening as the laws are on the books right now, and hopefully lead you to understand why we thought the seminar, the time for the seminar is good for right now in terms of planning, getting your affairs in order for yourself, for your clients, whether it's on the business side or the estate planning side. There's a compelling case to get things done right now.
I wanted to start a little bit by building on the Senator's remarks in terms of the impact on the economy, in terms of how the framework and what we're dealing with. In the sense of this, Chairman Bernanke talked about in the realm of 2% of GDP. There have been some private forecasts that take it up as high as 3.2% or 3.5% of GDP. And the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office has said that if we fall off this fiscal cliff, we very well may end up with a situation where we are in a short recession for the first and second quarters of 2013. So my final point and what I'll leave you with is that there's enough common ground on the middle class tax cuts. I would say maybe estate tax, because I think there are a number of Democrats who also are supportive of some approach to alleviating this estate tax issue the alternative minimum tax. So there's enough kind of common ground that a deal could be absolutely is within reach. These are not necessarily complicated issues. They are issues that every member has dealt with repeatedly because they've been extended. So there is a path to success. They're just these outside factors that will weigh, and both parties are going to make political calculations on who has upper hand. And they're going to have some takeaway from the election in terms of whether it was tax fairness and deficit reduction on the Democratic side that held sway, or was it no tax increases in a time of economic uncertainty on the Republican side, regardless of income, and that, you know, the highest income generators are also critical components of the economy. So I would say that we could end up with a deal, or we could also end up with a short-term deal where then it's revisited in terms of who's in power. But my prediction, I think I would say at this point, is that we end up with something. We don't fall completely over the fiscal cliff. It's just not as clear as it has been in the past. And part of that is it's a reflection of where the country is today. We have, you know, a good chunk of folks who have very discrete visions for the future, and they have hardened positions. And we're living in a time of economic insecurity, so there's also a lot of angst and anger, which doesn't play well for the political system either. So, but I do think that there is still enough of a sense of responsibility that there will be some sort of resolution in December, and I'll leave you with that.
Monster there, and I realize when we're children, the monster we deal with is the monster that's under our bed or in the closet. Then we grow up, we become business owners or advisors to business owners, and you realize the monsters are still there. They're not under our bed or in our closet, but they're what's happening with the euro, key customers, key employees, suppliers, a divorce, competitors, your health. So the monsters are always there, and in 2013, the monster is the tax increase we're talking about today. And now is the time to take some action and some planning to try to control that monster the same way we did when we were kids. So there are some potential transactions that we can do to help on this. One is a sale of assets. And we're here in May, but it is almost June. And I sit here just thinking, tick, 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 as the time gets closer and closer to December 31st. Realistically, transactions, especially a sales transaction, are going to take time. And I think 6 months is almost on the short side of getting it done. So as a business owner, now's the time to start if you haven't started already. As advisors, now's the time to raise this with our clients, to either get them to do something or at least score points of raising it. You don't want to be calling them up in November and saying, oh, by the way, over Thanksgiving, I was thinking about you doing some tax planning.
Great. Well, I've been asked to talk a little bit about what the M&A market looks like right now and how the coming tax changes might impact that. You know, it occurs to me about a year ago, I was asked to give a very similar speech. There were a set of bankers and lawyers and folks up here on the dais that were asked, you know, what is the M&A market in 2011 going to look like? And to a person, they said, it is going to be great. There's all sorts of buyers. The market's, you know, bankers are hiring, lawyers are hiring. The world is just going to be great. And so I thought it would be kind of fun to go back and say, well, how right were we about that? What are the underlying dynamics here? And then what does that mean for the world going forward? If you look back to 05 and 06, you see actually, you know, a clear increase there, but it's not that big, right? You're seeing sort of a turn to a turn and a half for bigger deals versus smaller deals. And I'd say that if you go back and look at this chart 5-10 years previous, that was fairly typical of what you'd see. I'd then ask you to turn to the right on 2011 and 2012 and look at the massive disparity there. You're talking now 3-4 turns in terms of what a small deal will get versus what a big deal will get. And if I was to tell you what's going on in the M&A market right now, I think this is the key chart that sort of really says what's going on, which is that there's a lot of money out there for good companies and big companies. And there's a lot of debt out there for big companies, and there's a reason for that. If you go back.
Well, I'm last for a reason, and that is because my role is to call you to action. Chances are nothing's going to happen before the end of the year. Chances are that it's very unlikely that anything will happen during the lame duck session. So the game that we are playing is Deal or No Deal. I think that's a game show out there. But I'm not a gambler, and I have to assume that most of you in this room are not. So therefore, we have to decide, you know, what do we do? What do we tell our clients? You've heard how we got here. Admittedly, we really don't know exactly where we're going, but we do know where we are. And what that means is we can anticipate not taking too many vacations this summer because our clients should be acting. Those of us that are clients should be acting, and we have a lot to do because we only have 6 months in which to do it. The 2010 tax